Thank you everybody for joining us today on this webinar that is, us as women in leadership in sport, going to try and talk about everything and everything else that affects us as leaders in sport, as we being leaders and where we are and what are the challenges we're facing, how do we think we can overcome them. And we have called in SPA as our biggest sponsor in Netball South Africa. Why SPA? Because of SPA believed in women in those days when nobody believed in us as a women's sport in the country. And we want to understand from their side what pushed them to sponsor us, what pushed them to believe in us as women. And we're going to have this webinar today and discuss a lot of things. Let me take this time to introduce the panel that we have today, that we have chosen. I'll ask everybody else, besides the panel members, to please put yourself on mute. When you have got any other question, please write on your questions and answers on your questions, and then Nusi will direct me and tell me the questions that are there. And we are happy that all of you have joined. I'll start with Marva Bernard from Jamaica. It's 8 o'clock in the morning. We are honored, Marva, to have you with us. And please introduce yourself to the people that are at the webinar.
Good morning, everyone from all over the world. It's really, really, really an honor to be asked by Cecilia to be a part of this event. I have been in netball since 1993. I actually used to play a little bit. It's a big joke for everybody, but then I went into management. I was the treasurer for Jamaica Netball Association from 1993 to 2005. I became the president of Jamaica's Netball in 2005 and served until 2015, which was the 10-year constitutional time. I was the IFNA treasurer, finance director from 1999 to 2011. I stepped away to focus on Jamaica's netball. I returned to the INF in 2019 as the regional rep for the Americas, because I became the president for that region in 2018. I'm looking forward to making a difference, MAD, not the real mad, but making a difference to netball in the region and to finish strong in 2023 in South Africa with my colleague, Cecilia, and the rest of the team. So that's in me in a nutshell. All about
Thank you so much,
for the last
Marva.
40 years.
Thank you so much. It was just a synopsis of Marva. You didn't want to tell us all. I know you didn't want to tell us all. That was your synopsis. And thank you once again for waking up and making sure that you join us when we are in the afternoons, of course. Kim is a SASCOC board member. Is a SASCOC member that I know from SASCOC. And I decided to call her because she's one of the women that is leading a very challenging sport in the country, canoeing. And we want to hear from her. Kim, please introduce yourself to the people at the webinar.
Good afternoon, everyone. And Jill, thank you. I can see the netball family is very close. So it's good to see. And welcome to all of you around the world. And I mean, I've been in sports for over 20 years. Commercially in my own business, and obviously in a volunteer position leading canoeing, which is, thousands of people, and obviously being an Olympic sport as well, both in para and in the normal. So yeah, fascinating times. COVID's been very interesting for us, but looking forward to our discussions this afternoon.
Thank you, Kim. And know that I'm proud of you. Leading men is not easy, especially knowing that canoeing is mostly predominantly
not
men.
easy, but I must admit, I've got great support. Yeah.
Then we have on our panel also Retha from SPA, who is I always say spa, it's not good for you. Spa, it's good for netball. Retha, please introduce yourself.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I've been with SPA for 25 years, which 22 years I've done sponsorship. So SPA loves our communities. And yeah, I can't wait to have this afternoon chat with everyone. I think it's going to be great.
Oh, wow. Thank you, Retha. 20, how many? 22 years.
25, yeah,
5
25
years.
years,
Oh,
yeah.
wow. Wow. Ah, wow. Kim, what are some of the challenges that you face as a woman in sport, especially the one that you're leading, that is predominantly men?
You know, I think the biggest thing coming into a sport where you've got both males and females is to earn the respect as a leader. You know, to let the men that we work with and together that we are just as capable of leading. And it's just to earn that respect. I think that's the biggest challenge. It takes a while, it takes time. But one of my things is being true, being authentic. I mean, I certainly didn't enter the sport to come through in administration. It's not why I entered. I didn't enter. I came in by default into the sport. Hockey is my background. So yeah, for me, the biggest issue is earning the respect of male colleagues and participants in the sport. Which
but do you think that is fair for us to want to earn the respect? Because we are capable as they are capable, we can do things that they can do. And why is it that we should earn their respect, not make them aware that we are where we are and we are on the space that we are and we are not there by mistake?
Well, you know, Cecilia, that's such a good question, because as you say, we shouldn't need to do that. You know, and it takes time. Luckily, I came, you know, as a lot of us have, I came to club structures. So I started off at the club level, and it just, you know, built up. And then I think people start realizing I'm a doer. I get stuck in hands-all, and that's enough to work with my team. So, you know, and it is a strange way that we have to come into our positions doing that. But that's why we're all here, because I think going forward it is going to change. And as more and more women are taking positions around the country and indeed the world, showing the way, I think we're leading the way in a lot of ways that we lead. I think we're bringing new ways of leading in sport around the world.
Oh, yes. Looking at what is happening, Marva, I'll talk globally to you, Marva, because you are one of our guests who is international and we have to talk global. What is it in big sporting federation globally? We have few women in leadership positions. Why is it, Marva?
My experience is that we have put the men forward in leadership roles. I take it locally in my country, in Jamaica. We see men becoming umpires. We see the men becoming coaches. We do have women in administration in this region. But I find that in the aspects of our sport that the women should be coming forward, we have allowed them, the men, to take over. It will eventually filter down into the boardroom. But I do believe it could be an economic base, a power base. Women have to work and earn the money, and therefore they have less time to do administrative duties, because I honestly find that if I did not have a supportive husband who could allow me to pursue this avocation for the last 40 years, I would not be able to do it. In order for me to move Netball Jamaica forward in the way in which I wanted and at the speed that I wanted it to happen, I saved up 2 years' salary and left my job to focus solely on moving netball in Jamaica, knowing that I had support at home to be able to allow me to do this. So most women don't have that. and therefore challenges to balance family, home, and a living to do this. The men have us to do that for them while they can go out and, as my girlfriend likes to say, play president.
I like that one. I like that one at the end. However, you know, Marva, it all takes us back to we are women. And as women, do we think as women, Marva, we are giving that respect that we deserve, as Kim was talking about, as women? I want us to go back to Kim's point of respect when we talk about this. Do you think as us as women, we're giving the respect we deserve as leaders before we are being women? Remember, we are leaders, but at the end of the day, we are women. So are we being given that respect as leaders, not looking at our gender?
We are not, but we have to work twice as hard as women. I find that women do not support each other as much as we would like to be able to propel us forward. Whatever it is, but it is what it is. But I think that the support that we women can give to each other is not as forthcoming as it should be. In Jamaica, we, as a female sport, struggle against football. No matter how badly football is doing, they are first on the news, and I've been watching that over the years. We struggle against cricket, and we struggle against track and field. So for a women's sport in netball, being the most successful team sport in this country, we do not get the kind of support that we could get. It's changing, but it's a lot of work to change it. We have to work twice as hard. And I think that is just something that once I went into the presidency, I accepted that this is what it was going to be. And I just set about doing what needed to be done to compete with those guys and still remain feminine.
You touched on a very important factor, support. I'm going to now talk to Rieta, because we're talking support. Rieta, SPA has been with Netball for more than, as much as I can remember, 15, 16 years. SPA has been with Netball. What triggered SPA, you as SPA, to want to believe in female football, female sport, and especially netball, when it was not fashionable at that time to believe in women and in women's sport? So why did SPA opt to believe in netball in a country like South Africa?
Okay, let me give you a little bit of history now. SPA started off with women's sport, but we started off with obviously hockey, bowls, and now we're predominantly doing netball and track and field. But SPA at that stage, traditionally, your customers was 80% female, 20% male. And we just said we wanted to give back to our female customers, you know, and we wanted to support them in whatever they are doing. And that's why we went into women's sport. Look, lately it has changed as it is now more 45% split. But you know what? Once we're now in women's sport, we actually enjoy it. We like the support that we're getting. And you know what? We also found that there isn't a lot of support. You know, we've been rallying up support from other people and other sponsors from, sure, I think 10 years ago, but you know, it is not as women's sport is not something that is predominantly supported, and we found it, we saw it in everyday business as well. But you know what, for SPA it is important. We also found that especially netball is a sport that's played in so many households. There we can reach the communities that we're involved in. That's why netball is so important to SPA, is because we want to be in touch with our communities and we want to support them in what they're doing.
How can we change this issue of women getting crumbs from the corporate? You know, we are getting crumbs. Let's not shy away from the truth. We are getting crumbs. If you take me as Netball South Africa and or Netball Jamaica, or canoeing, and you compare us, to rugby, to cricket, to football. What we getting from the corporate, it's crumbs.
Yeah.
What's your take on that?
You know what, there I would like to say it also goes about the media support, because if you look at media support, I mean, there can be going great things on in netball, and we might get some coverage on it, whereas if there's any rugby, any cricket, any football, it takes a whole page. There's always big photos. If you just look at the photos of sport, then you can predominantly see the male get all the coverage. Now if you look at a sponsor, obviously they need some kind of return on investment. We all know those things as well. And if you look at the coverage that we're given by media, the return is a lot bigger on men's sport. And I think if the media starts also supporting women's sport and writing more about it, taking photos, making sure they're also bigger, I think that support will start filtering through from companies as well. Because obviously, with money being scarce and companies really battling at the moment, they are going to go where they find they get the best exposure, the most exposure, where they're being looked after. So you know what, we feel very fortunate with netball. We love the exposure we're getting. We think it's great. But I think if the media would support us more, then I think more corporates will come in and say, but listen, they're getting their money's worth with that sport. So I think definitely that will make a big difference.
Cecilia.
Indeed, you've put a point there to say we need to make the noise. We need to be visible. We need to be out there, to be known. We need to sell ourselves, to say, here we are, I'm Kim Pole, I'm the president. I don't know how many of the people who are in the webinar know that Kim Pole is the president of canoeing in South Africa. Not everybody knows about it. And we need to sell each other as women and to make sure that we sell our sport. We sell our sport wherever we are, whether it's football, netball, or whatever. We do that. Canoeing, we do that. Marva?
I want to come in here, Cecilia, because you have touched a nerve or touched something that I experienced during my time at Netball Jamaica. And guys, I can only speak of what I know. So if I keep referring back to Netball Jamaica, bear with me, it is what I know, and you can only share what you know, okay? When I took over Netball Jamaica, it was an extremely well-run organization. We had great presidents before, very good presidents before. So I didn't take over an organization that was not well run and run efficiently. But it was the best kept secret in Jamaica. The netball team was sometimes third in the world before ranking came in. We won bronze medals. We've always been in the top 5, but nobody knew anything. Nobody knew enough about them. So I worked in an advertising agency that was responsible for the government's business. And I learned a few things about promoting products. And we say sport is a business, and therefore Spar is a business, so they have to promote the products that's in their supermarket. And it's the same thing for sport. So what did I do? I set about aligning myself to people who could help me to market this product that we had called the Sunshine Girls and filtering it down to netball. So I got a friend who knew a little about the business. I hired him. He was in between jobs. And one of the things we set about doing is to ensure that every week there were at least 2 or 3 stories about netball in the print media. I invited the electronic media to come to our practices. So that every night, even though we would come behind football, somebody's mic is on, even though we would come behind football and cricket and track and field, we would be there. So I hired a writer. I made sure that I aligned myself to the media, because the media is free PR. You can't pay for that kind of PR. So everything that was happening in Netball Jamaica, I put it into the media. And the role of myself, along with the board, was to ensure that the best kept secret in the land, which was Netball and the Sunshine Girls, was no longer a secret. So what we did, we had a product, and sports is business, and we began to market the product. We made sure that our accounting and our financial, we practiced good practices as a company. Because investors, and I don't like to use the word sponsor, because a sponsor is not giving away money because they don't have anything to do with it. They want a return on investment. They like to see their products on TV. So every week we make sure that the Sunshine Girls, everything that was happening in netball that people would like to hear about and see, we put it on TV. So that SPAR would want to continue the investment, because it's not a sponsorship, my friend Cecilia, it is an investment, and they are expecting return. So what did I do with a sponsor who had products? I encouraged the girls to purchase from the sponsor. So you would see the chicken, we would buy chicken that was from our sponsor. We wouldn't buy the competitor's chicken, and it's the same whole business arrangement. And unless we recognize that sport is a business and not only mouth the words, but do what SPAR businesses like SPAR do to make money, then we're not doing it right then.
You know, there's an issue here when I'm reading at the comments. Rihanna Bezedenhost, she's the president of Netball in Gauteng, one of our provinces. She says 3 main issues women in leadership experience: patriarchy, which we 100% concur with her. And I want us to touch on the issue of patriarchy. That was my next question to you, Kim, to say, you are in a patriarchy setup whereby most of your male counterparts are there in positions. Not many women are there, and most of your athletes are men better than women. How do you work and how do you deal with that? In netball, we will talk about it because we have to get into that. We will talk about it. How do you deal with it? And she goes like, no leadership support, which we all agree. Women not supporting women, which I completely agree with, because we tend to be our worst enemies. Touch on that. Touch on those 3 issues, Kim.
First things, I mean, in my sport, it's 70% male, 30% female. So we definitely, you know, and I would even say in administration it's less. I would say probably 85% male and 15% female. So it is difficult. And as you say, it's working through. And I keep saying it about being true and authentic in ourselves as women. And I think one of our skills as women is we have empathy. I mean, that's natural, it's normal, it's what we are. And it's such a big skill to learn in any leadership position. And that's what we've got to do. And I don't like to use the word, I mean, I've got a lot of women coming through now in leadership, because I think just from, you know, we had Meryl King before. She was our first ever female president, and that was about 2012, 2011. Meryl went onto the SESCOC board. So it's taken time for more of us to come through, but I think that the confidence is there now, that we can do the job. And I'll go back to what I said earlier, it's getting that respect, but it's there. On that, no leadership support, women amongst women, I 100% agree. I mean, if we think of all the women leaders in our sport in South Africa, and I'm talking about provincial level, national level, etc., we don't even have a group. We don't communicate with one another. When have we ever sat around a round table as 60, 70, 100 of us and said, we can do it on Zoom these days, let's talk, let's support one another, let's get us together, working together to overcome and talk honestly and openly, like I think we're doing now, which is fantastic. Maybe this is a start, maybe you started something. So it's challenging each day. You know, you find there are more instances where it's more challenging. But it's just to be true to yourself and work through it and just keep going. Have the confidence in your role as why you've been chosen, because at the end of the day, it's democratic. You are elected, and just live with that and run with it. And it is, as you say, I think, you know, Marva said it is more difficult as a female, but we are strong and we're resilient. Nothing that you can't take away from us.
You know, one thing that touched me when you talked about it is we are strong as women and we need to work together as women. But that's one thing that we are very bad at, and we are not good at that. We are good at pulling each other down, not pulling each other up. And we are so good at competing with each other, not complimenting each other. That's how we're good at. And it brings me to a question of, Retha, I want you to take off your cap of sponsorship now and think as a woman. And tell me, why do you think women in sport, because you've been in sport for such a long time, why do you think that women in sport is treated as an afterthought in this country? Because that's how I feel. We are treated as an afterthought. It's like they decide on what they want to do, and then, oh, by the way, oh, there's women, oh, there's netball. So what do you think are the issues when it comes to that?
You know what, I think for me personally, the first issue is that I think apart from historically that male sport was always favored, I think, you know what, if I look at other sports, if you ask any young boy at school who is one of the rugby players, they'll immediately identify them, they'll know them by name. But for some reason, you don't find that in women's sport. I mean, we've got running that we also supported, and I mean, well, that we're supporting. And if we, for instance, put those photos up on our pages, people don't know who those ladies are. And for some reason, I think it goes out that we don't make our sport ladies the heroes. So for me personally, I find, you know what, to be in a position of where you're competing in a top team, that should be a recognized position that you've earned. And for some reason, I feel we don't make known the women in sport. But I think G Sport has done a lot for ladies in the past, especially now we get to know them. But still, I mean, you don't know who's all the lady soccer players. We don't know who's you know, in the different sporting codes. So first of all, I think there's a lack of putting them on a pedestal, making them role models. Because I think if there was more, if we could get girls, our netball players, for instance, to go to schools, to become a role model for youngsters, that's where we want them. And I think for me personally, I think that's one of for me personally, the biggest issue is that I don't know all the top sport people, and now working with them, I know a lot more, but I mostly know those that I'm working with in my field. I still don't know all the others. So I think that for me, if we can start, for me, I think it will be great if we can start there. Then I think, like I said, the media support, obviously. And then I think, you know what, I think the big thing is there's always a little bit of a lack of, when it's a women's sport, that you don't always put them on a pedestal. Sometimes I think women are threatened by another woman's success. Like you said, instead of supporting them. And I think if we start supporting the woman that's making it, I mean, I think it will go a long way in promoting them, and then in return, it will promote the sport as well.
You know, Retha, you've touched on a lot of aspects that really touch us, you know, directly as women. And when I'm reading through what people are saying here, and Connie, may I please ask yourself to mute yourself, the sound when people are talking, and we're recording this. It's going to go on YouTube and everything. Please, Connie, mute yourself. Thank you. You know, people are talking, and I'm happy to see the comments that are here. I mean, Matohang is saying, women networking will help in gathering support. The question that is coming now, Marva, do we network enough as women? Do we network enough, Marva?
No, we don't. We don't do a lot together, but it all depends on the leader. To be able to transform what we have, the leader has to be a transformational leader. And while I can't pronounce your name, Mrs. Spar, Madame Spar, and I will affectionately call you Madame Spar, was talking about not knowing the people. You have to have a team of people around you who think business. What I did, my pleasure and my blessing when I led Netball Jamaica was that I had people around me who saw the need, who had the skill set to make some of what we wanted to do happen. Netball was the best kept secret in Jamaica. And Jamaica is football country. And we sat around a table one day and we said, how are we going to get the message out about these girls? And one of the ladies said, this is netball country. Let's put them on billboards. I didn't remember. My girlfriend who is here reminded me. What did we do? We got our sponsors who had billboards around the country to give us a billboard. And I was the person who was charged to make this happen, right? The idea wasn't mine, but I'm an executor. I will execute any good idea if I believe in it. And what did we do? We got a spot at the airport. So when you're leaving, you'll see a big billboard that said, this is netball country. The audacity of me. This was football country, but we decided to make it netball country. So what did we do? We put the team, we put Romelda, we put Janelle, and we put them strategically around the country, because you have to have people knowing the stars. And I made sure the girls knew they had to do interviews. They had to do interviews, and I had a contact in every major newspaper. I had a contact at every major television station. And I made sure that anything they wanted, I gave interviews ad nauseum. When we got the back page of one of the daily newspapers, hip hip hooray. It's work, ladies. It's work. You're building a brand. And building a brand doesn't happen by just being laid back. You have to work harder than the men in everything. And once you accept that, Cecilia and the rest of the team, you don't even focus on how much work it is taking. It is what it is. Somebody's.
Can I ask people to mute themselves, please? Can I kindly ask everybody to mute? Mr.
Moletane's mic needs to be muted.
Mr. Moletane, please mute yourself. Can I ask people to mute themselves, please? Just put yourself on mute.
It was
just to respect the leader on the floor.
It was an exciting time. We could see what was happening. Every night I would watch TV, and if I didn't see a netball story between Monday and Friday, I was onto it. And most leaders don't realize that the media is your best friend. It can be your worst enemy. But you have to recognize that the investor who has pumped money into your sport is expecting a return on investment. Your image, I made sure, I never wore my own clothes for 10 years. If I was going on a spar assignment, I would have on a spar shirt. If I was going on an assignment with a team that the bank sponsored, I would wear the bank, because the camera is going to be on you. There's so much that young leaders don't know. We have to do what we have to do. And there's a lot of information out there, but people don't share information, Cecilia. They keep it. And my philosophy is information shared is not lost. And what happens when administrations change? When administrations change, new leaders want to make their mark. They want to make their mark at the expense of the two words I've come to hate, the previous administration. And what happens? The product that you have, the girls, the Proteas, the Sunshine Girls, the whole package that you are trying to push forward. Instead of pushing it forward, it's retarded. And so, two words I hate, previous administration, we have to work to build on what was there before. So if one administration took it here, the new one stands on the shoulders of the old one so they can see farther. Because if we don't change the way in which we as female administrators change, that empty chair that we have at our board table, Cecilia, will rise up and we will lose more ground to the male sport because they understand the business of the business. It's we that need to catch up because we have not been in this leadership role for as long as they have. So we have to work twice as hard to build and to catch up with what they have been doing over the years because they've been at it a longer time than we have.
Thank you, Marva. And you know, I'm also listening to you, and I can relate to you, and also trying to read what the people are saying on the charts, and you hear how most of our people. I like the question that is being posed here. It says, how do we bring these women on board to support women? Retha, you are in sponsorship. How do we bring them on board?
Cecilia, you know what? I think the first thing is that I thought of sometimes I'm thinking in Afrikaans. So just give me a second to get my thoughts sometimes right. But I was thinking about leadership, and I was thinking about when we've got functions. And I think people mustn't see knowledge sharing as a threat, because sometimes I found that is something that happens when you work in sponsorship. If I go into a meeting and I give, for instance, you give your opinion or you give your advice, they see, for some reason, they see it as a threat. So, and I think that's where Marva picked on as well, is that knowledge shared is never lost. And I think people, first of all, women must have the kind of thing, I want to learn something. I don't know, I've been in sponsorship 22, 25 years, but still I'm learning everywhere. With every function, I'm learning something new. So I think first of all, you must have an eagerness to learn, even if it's from someone in a different position. And then second of all, those in positions, leadership positions specifically, should be wanting to share their knowledge, so that there's some kind of, there's a dual thing working together. That what you're learning, but also what you're giving. And I think it needs to be an unselfish learning as well. You need to be able to put yourself aside and to say, but let sport be the winner. Because I think for sometimes, if you start focusing on what you want to achieve or what you want to have done, netball or the sport doesn't also always win. But
Retha, hold on
if you
for
focus,
me. Mighty Pandu, Letitia from Zimbabwe, Mama. Letitia, please mute yourself. The sound, please mute yourself, Mama.
I am.
Mama Letitia, please mute yourself. Nusi, can you mute her? Nusi? Mama Letitia, please mute yourself. She's the president of Zimbabwe Netball.
Hi.
Please mute yourself.
Hello.
How are you? How are you, Mama Letitia? Nusi, can you help us in muting Mama Letitia? Retha, you can continue.
okay, so just to recap, so I think first of all, sport must always be the focus to be the winner. Because if if everyone's got the same consensus of having sport to be the winner, or the if it's netball, if it's road running or whatever, must be the winner, I think then everyone will already have that mindset of listening and sharing and working together. Then I think communication for me is the other thing, is that, you know what, sometimes people are scared to communicate to ask questions because they feel that they might seem stupid or they might seem over eager. But I think once again, we have to learn, and even myself as well, to put ourselves out of our fears and our discomforts, and to put the sport as number one, and to be able to stand up and to say, but listen, this is what's working for me, this is what not. And then the more you communicate, I believe, the more you will reach consensus on what's the best way forward for the sport or the function of what's happening as well.
Kim, do you think we are doing enough to groom our sport women to be able to be competitive in the sports world, in the world out there? Do you think we're doing enough? I mean, look at canoeing.
From an athlete perspective, no.
Yes.
You know, and I think this is going to refer to a lot of African countries. You know, funding's an issue, you know, all around. And it's difficult, you know, and our sportswomen also have a lot of them shorter careers, because families, you want to have families, and it's when to take that break, have your family, come back. And I also don't think we give the support to them to help them along that road, you know, where they can have families, come back to sport and still compete at the international level. We've got a lot of our female athletes in this country that have done that. And it's to use that knowledge and the expertise and what we've learned to work. And we don't have a support system, a proper support system for all our female athletes across, I think, a lot of the sporting codes. We're still learning, but I think we can do more. And we've got a lot of athletes that have been there, done it. And I like to say, bought the T-shirt and that, because we do buy the T-shirt, because we're all, you know, self-sponsor ourselves and families are sponsored, to support each other and to learn. We need to bring a lot of those older athletes back into the system, bring up the new athletes. And I think I read it here, have a big women family circle working together for a women's sport as a whole. And I'm talking right around, from administrators to the coaches at grassroots level through to our elite. We do not support. We need that support, and only we can make that difference. Nobody else can help us. If we don't do it, it's not going to happen. And I think that's the reality. So it's a big group working together for one goal, and that's for women athletes to excel for themselves, not only representing the country, but for themselves and what their goals are. Be it just to go out and play a club match on a weekend. You know, so that's my answer. My short answer is no. I don't think we're there. Long way to go.
It is, truly speaking, a long way to go. We really face facts, and we talk about really what is happening in our countries and what is happening within our circle as women all over the world and all over the country and all over the continent. I mean, when you look at netball, for example, let me talk netball because I'm best at that. When you look at netball and you look at women, I mean, Masha just raised a very important issue here to say women should support women and do more and more. You know, what we do is when we are in our circle, Kim, me and you, we tend to be in that circle and sit in that circle and don't want to expand the circle. And for me, it's about the expansion of the circle to make us more, you know, celebrated and make us more known. Because if me and you think that we will do it alone, it's not going to happen. I like what she said, and just, you know, also be bold to set difference aside, and which we can't do. Most of us as women, we cannot set differences aside. If I have an attitude towards Retha, I'll make sure that I get a Kim and I get a Marva to support me in hating, you know, a Retha that is there. And those are the mindset change that we need to do, because when I think about it, at the end of the day, in South Africa, we're talking transformation. We're talking APG. We're talking transformation. I'll always reiterate and say this. Transformation starts with one's mind. It cannot be that we want to preach transformation, but it doesn't start with my mind. It cannot be that I'm always waiting that Rieta does a mistake or Kim does a mistake, then I start reacting. And when I see her doing that mistake, I'm not doing anything to make sure that we work together towards one goal that will actually take the sport forward or take us as women forward. Marva, what needs to be done to make sure that women's sport across all sporting codes, Marva, whether it's cricket, netball, rugby, canoeing, boxing, whatever, you know, we are not professional in this country. I don't know in Jamaica if you are professional. If you are professional, let's talk about it. What do you think needs to be done if you are not yet professional? But I know you're not professional. You're like me.
Okay. Remember I said that Jamaica Netball Jamaica as we now know it, has been blessed over the years to have been run by really efficient leaders before me. We had Leila Robbins who stood up for that fight for South Africa to get South Africa, you know, get apartheid in sport broken down. She's an icon in netball. We had Molly Rowan. Before Molly, we had Vilma McDonald. And then after Molly, we had Sharon and then me. What we did was we ran netball professionally. If you did not bring, and investors like to look, just as like a business, eh? Investors will like to look at your administration or at your organization before they decide to pump money in it, invest. So what we have to do is to look to see how well-run organizations operate, though even their business. For me, guys, I have been blessed to get help from Netball England in my journey, building on what Molly and Sharon and Vilma gave me. I had a very efficient organization taking it over Netball Jamaica. I just built on what I got. We had to present our financials at every meeting. We didn't hold AGMs unless we had accounts. These are things that were a hallmark for Jamaica's netball. So when I went to a sponsor, we would present our annual report, which included our audited financial statements in front of them. And I dare say, if basketball came and they didn't present that, the person who's looking to invest money is going to invest money where financial transparency, fiduciary responsibility, and all of these things are operating. We in Jamaica like to say we're poor, but we're poor and powerful. So what do we have to do? We have to network. We have to have an image. I tell my sunshine girls and I teach them image. I have people come in and teach them image. Because if you are representing a brand such as Spar is, and I had the benefit of being in South Africa and seeing Spar. Spar is all over the place. So you have to represent the brand Spar. So you prepare your ambassadors who are your netball players to recognize brand recognition, their own brand and the brand of the investor who has pumped money in them. So you try to avoid scandals. You try to avoid everything that will affect and tarnish your investor's brand and your brand. So what did we do? I'm always looking over the fence. I'm a peeping Tom over the fence at other sports who are doing well. So I have friends in Netball Australia, Netball New Zealand, Netball England, because you cannot move forward by looking back at people who are less ranked, less efficient at a lesser stage than you are. So I peeped over the fence and I have I made friends in Netball New Zealand. I made friends in Netball Australia at levels that could assist Jamaica. In media, I made friends with the president. I made friends with people who are running umpiring, coaching, because every piece of networking that I did was with one purpose in mind, to bring it back into Jamaica's netball to help it move forward. So I wasn't looking behind me at countries who were behind me unless they had something strong and powerful and working well that I could take from. So as a leader for 10 years in Netball Jamaica, I was always looking, even at football. How does football do that? Even though they were ranked 98 and they weren't ranked as high as Jamaica's netball, there were processes and structures that they had that we didn't have. So I looked over the fence. I saw they had a coaching program partnering with the university, and I said, that looks good. Called up my friend in football. How do you do this and get it going? This is what, and you have to work harder and longer than the men, because in Jamaica, football gets mega bucks. Mega bucks. And I don't wonder to try to see how I can get their mega bucks. I just want enough that my sunshine girls and what trickles off of head falls on shoulders so that the other teams can have. And you go out and you seek investors who buy into your vision. Where what we see, the girls that we see playing out there and doing so well now, started with me when they were 14 years old and 15 and 16. And it takes a number of years for them to get to where they are now. It's a process like building a business. So we just have to know, Cecilia, that the work for women, don't bother to lament over it. Just do what you have to do, because as long as you run an efficient shop and people who have money want to spend it with you, fine. And the INF now is working on a document which will be like a roadmap, a template for all of us who are members of the Federation to be able to use, how to send out a press release, how to do anything in terms of marketing and making your brand. So it is doable, but we have to recognize that it is people. It is the people. It is never about us as leaders. Anytime we as leaders forget that it is about the athletes and think about ourselves more, we need to show the younger people the pathway, or they will leave. I see some the national players leave. They don't come back into coaching. They don't see the pathway to becoming an administrator around the table, and we are at fault when that doesn't happen. We have to make it so. It happens in umpiring. Where are the next couple of umpires coming from? Umpires are out there to be branded by an investor. But if you don't encourage the young, we're going to die and leave the sport with a huge vacuum in some of the regions and some of the countries that we operate in. It's about the players. And once SPAR is not interested in sponsoring you or me, Cecilia, it is in sponsoring your players, City Berger and the whole lot of them. That's what SPAR wants, not us, the leader. But we as the leader have to go and say to SPAR, here is what is going to be your return on investment. And this document that the INF is working on for our members will show us once and for all, including me, how to calculate return on investment. It's just words I used to use, but I know that the sponsor wants to know about the return on their investment. So we have to teach young leaders because they don't always know.
Thank you, Marva. And you know, you've said it right. Retha is not interested in sponsoring Cecilia. Retha is interested in changing a life of a young girl that dreams and dreams big and dreams of going somewhere in life and wanting to be something in life. And they want to make their dream come true. And who not us to make sure that we make it possible that when Retha comes, get those players and we prepare them well to make sure that whenever they occupy the space, they know what is expected of them. Because what I've realized, Kim, this is the question that is coming to you. As leaders, why don't we believe in having mentees? I'm Cecilia Molokwane. I'm the president of Netball South Africa and the president of African Netball. Why don't I identify 2 people and say, I want to be their mentee? And so as when I leave Netball, there's somebody that I've mentored into a leadership position so as they can be better than me. I don't want them to be like me. I want them to be better than me and do things better than I'm doing them. And why don't I take 2 people in Africa, in the continent of Africa, and identify 2 young upcoming leaders and say, this is what I want to teach you. This is how I do things. This is how I go about doing things. And this is how, what do you think I can do it better now? And that when you take over, you can do it 100 better than me. Why are we scared to take somebody along to groom them and make them better than us?
You know, that's Phil, such a good question. I mean, I've often looked at it, and I mean, I've offered a couple of young ladies, obviously not in my sport, but other sports, to mentor them, and they're saying, oh, but your sport's not big enough. So I think, well, how can you say sport's not big enough? Because leadership is, you know, whatever. If you learn in my sport, I could probably come across to your sport and continue. But I think it should be, now I don't want to use the word forced on us, but it's something that we as a group of women in leadership roles, that it should just happen. And that's what we keep talking about, the support, the networking. And I think Rita, you referred to it earlier, don't be scared to ask questions. Me, a leader of a federation, I pick up the phone, and a couple of other federations, and we do ask questions, but it's only recent that that's happened. I think COVID has forced a lot of this on us to help each other. But it should be something that we do. It should just be something that we do. And imagine if all of us are two, what a wonderful group of women leaders we'll have in sport in South Africa. I mean, I was just thinking, well, Marva was talking there, and I think Rita alluded to, one of my businesses is licensed products, and I've done rugby and cricket in supermarkets. And I think, when did we last walk into a supermarket and see one of our female athletes on a product, up on the wall, on the plastic bag, or whatever it is? That's for us to change. If I throw it out there now, if I ask any one of you sitting on this webinar today, if I had to ask you to name the Protea netball players, you'd probably name the whole team. Name me 5 of our rugby players. Name me 5 of the Banyana. Name me 5 of the swimmers. Name me 5 of the rowers. That's a challenge. I don't think any of us are can't. We have to change it. And how do we go about changing it? And put our women out there. But it's, yep, I agree. We have to take these younger women. There's a lot that are doing sports administration at our universities around the country, online, you know, and that, and work with them. And as you say, support each other. And share the knowledge, share it. You know, I don't know if you're just on this group, how many years of knowledge is sitting here? Hundreds, if we add it all together. What with it? What with it? I mean, we can leave the policies and that, but the legacy will be, for me, is the knowledge sharing and supporting each other.
You know, it's one thing that is very difficult. I don't know why it is difficult for us as women to support each other. I'm even laughing about it because it's so difficult for us to support each other. I'll tell you an example. Me and Marva have each other's back. At the INF board, we sit in the International Netball Federation board. We have each other and others back. And I would love to see more of that happening in a lot of women's spaces. I mean, I've known Marva. She knew me when I was still a player, and now she's actually, to me, she's my mentor, because I got her there in netball, in leadership, and I was a player at that time. But how she looks up to me and how we communicate and the respect she gives me, sometimes it leaves me aback to say, oh, wow, you know, I don't think I deserve this respect from Marva. Anyway, and I'll take the respect back. One thing that I've realized, Rieta, with us as women, is we tend to not know our worth. And I want to, from the sponsorship side, talking to us from the corporate side, how important it is as women and women in leadership, because everybody who's sitting here are women in leadership, as Kim has said, and with vast knowledge. How important it is for us to understand our worth as women.
I think, Cecile, I quickly want to touch on a story which I think is it's been my inspirational story at SPA. My assistant now, Sophie Matlow, she started at SPA as a tea lady. And her job was to give everyone tea. And she got herself to a position where she studied after hours to become one of our receptionists. And then from there she grew, and she's now my assistant. She's now at a point where she manages a lot of my work for me. And it was all because she first of all, I think she realized she had worth because someone saw worth in her to give her the opportunity. Second of all, I think her worthiness grew because she was given more opportunities. So I think for me, there's an essence in that is that I think small victories make big worth, if it makes sense for you. Because you know what, not all of us will do something worthwhile and we'll feel happy. Yes, it will happen occasionally, but if we can give those opportunities to other people to gain knowledge, they will gain worth with that knowledge. And then if you've got the worth, you'll be able to step up and to say, but listen, I've got a contribution to make. Because if you don't feel your worth, you won't be able to give a contribution. So if we can give the worth, we'll be able to give the contribution back to the people who taught us. And then, like I say, Sophie now is such an inspiration to so many. We've got our SPA virtual race that we're doing, and Sophie is our hotline. She deals with all our customers. She is on top of the world with her worth because she knows she's grown. She knows she's got the backing of myself, of SPA. And we've also got a thing in SPA that we say, we don't hire for skill. We hire for passion. We train for skill. And I think somehow that you can relate to worthiness as well. If a person has got passion, you can give them the skills. And part of that skills will be that they will feel worthy. They will gain worth into what they're doing. They'll gain the confidence to know what they're doing. And then they'll have the confidence to pass it on. Because I think once you reach a maturity in your work, that is your next goal, is to pass on that knowledge that you've gained, that we've been talking about, and seeing the youngsters growing into positions and growing in worthiness. Because I think that's where all of us, I want to see other women to also get to a point where they feel worthy enough, where they can share as well. And I think that's something that we all can work on as well.
Somebody's putting something, Michael Hang, it's putting something very, very interesting here. So we need men sponsors and ambassadors to help us push the support. Do we need that, Kim? Do we need that?
Sure. I'm reading the first part there and I'm thinking it's such a good thing. How do you break into the old boys club? So I'm sure we all realize there is a huge old boys club. We're not going to beat around the bush. There is in sport.
Yes.
But why? Because the men support each other. That's why they're going to go and play golf, and they get in there and play the golf. Show that you can play golf just as well as they can. And we might go sideways sometimes, but we also on that course. Do we need men? I believe that we do need the men that support women, because there are incredible men in this country that support women and are vocal in support. But we mustn't forget to don't use that and not push our women. So I think first and foremost is push our women. They are ambassadors. That's what we're here for. The men can be the supporting role. We're not the supporting role. We are the highlight. We're not the, that's it. We're the highlight. We're the lead. You can go and do the advert. And that's it. So, and I think that's the key, because there is an all boys club. I mean, Cecilia sits there on the SASCOC board, and SASCOC.
Don't even go there.
Don't go there, but as I said, it is, but it's because they've supported. So we've got to support each other, and we must remember that we are first and foremost, and put ourselves first, and take that lead role. And I think that's the key, and it's that confidence as women leaders to take that lead role. Believe in yourself wholeheartedly in every single thing that you do, and don't be afraid to say, you know what, I actually made a mistake, because we're not all perfect. We do make mistakes, and show that you can make the mistake. You'll own, I always say, own the mistake, own it, live with it, learn from it, and move on. And I believe we can do that with ourselves as women. And I'm not saying exclude the men, because then we're going, they can come in as a support role, but our women must be that the spotlight's on them. And we're going to go back one more. We'll go back. The women's on the support, the lights on the athletes. Our job is to support the athletes. We are here to administer and to make their lives easier, and the support crew. That's our role, because we won't have administration if it wasn't for athletes and our technical officials. So that's what we're here for. And if we glued only out of that, I think we'll be good, and we'll break down these old boy clubs one by one.
It's interesting what I'm reading. You know, they're even helping me in synergizing these questions that I have for you, that were so direct to you and everything. But now it's becoming interesting on how ladies are putting up issues here. I'm reading from Helen Mafo. Helen is in England right now, if I'm not wrong. Educate the old boys club of our value and worth. Show what we can do. Also show what they need, how they need us. Why is it important that we should show them that they need us? Why doesn't it come naturally, Marva, that they know that they need us? Because without us, remember I always say when I was interviewed to say, we gave birth to these men, and I don't understand why they're not giving us the sponsors that we need, and they're sitting in these boardrooms and taking these decisions on our behalf, and we gave birth to them. And if we wanted to do something to them, we would have just sat on them and suffocate them, and then they were not going to be there. But anyway, when I thought about it, it's like, I wouldn't have a baby without a man. So it's a catch-22 situation. So why should we prove ourselves so much, Marva, to men, that we are worth it? Why should we do that?
I look at it in a different way. And remember, guys, I can only teach what I know, right? I can't teach what I don't know. Going to Australia in 2015 was going to be a huge, hefty expense for Netball Jamaica. And I want to say this to us ladies: if we do not know how to follow, we cannot lead. My husband said that to me in a different context, right? But when you get quiet, you learn that if you don't know how to follow, you cannot lead. And I say this to give you an example about the power of men that they have, and we must harness it to our best interest. I went to a business and sports seminar, and there was this very tall, young, handsome soldier in his uniform, the magnificent men in uniform. And he turned around to me and said, "How is it that netball can't get any money and you do so well?" And I said to him, "Come help me now. Come and help me. Since you think we can get more money, but something is not going right." And the young man did. He came to my office at Netball House and said, "I raised money for the government's tattoo." He was a colonel in the army. I said, "Would you help me?" He said, "Yes." Guys, he became the face. He became the face of my fundraising campaign to raise money to go to Australia for the 2015 World Cup. He networked his friends, even sponsors that I had. He had friends in there at that level, and he got them to add more money on top of what we had. And I took orders from him for a year. And every time we had an event, it would be this man that was the face of our event, because the men that he knew in corporate Jamaica were now supporting him because he's now supporting us. And guys, for 1 year, Jamie said, "Have you written to the president of John Brown Baking, have you? And I said, no, sir. Yes, sir, I would, sir. He sat at the head of the table and helped me, and I thought that I could raise money. But the men have a bigger and a more powerful network in the corporate companies. He has become my good friend today, but I look back at those days when it was the man, not Marva Bernard, who was the face of the fundraising campaign to help us to go to Australia for the World Cup. And I looked at how he did it. He leveraged his relationships with his friends. And one of the things that I always say in Jamaica, I had to come to South Africa in 2011 with the then IFNA president, Cheryl Dawson. And we taught these ladies how to approach sponsors in banks. Image is everything. Image is everything. It's like a dress that you go into the dress shop to buy. You look at the one that's visually attractive first. It's really sewn well. It's put together before you buy. You try it on and it fits, you take it home. You try it on, it doesn't fit, you leave it. And so each of us have to know the market in which we are operating and watch what the men do that's successful, of course, within reason. I'm speaking above board here now. We just have to learn from them. We have to learn that people are investing in who they see and what they know of who they see. So we just have to recognize that sport is business, big business. Life is a game, and only those who know how to play the game will win. And I'm speaking play the game fairly. I'm not speaking play the game unfairly. We touched about succession planning. How many of us take young people to our congresses? We don't. And then we say they're not interested. These people, younger people now need to see the pathway. We have to mentor them. We have to teach them. The greatest joy for me, Cecilia, is mentoring the Sunshine Girls over the years. They are now a part of my life, and I have no qualms anymore in saying these are my gifts from God. These girls are the gifts from God to me, right? So the next thing I say is that we have to know that as leaders, we eat last. There's a great book out there by Simon Sinek, and we need to read and educate ourselves on leadership. These girls know if it's one slice of bread that's left in the loaf, the president doesn't eat it. We take the least so that the players can go out and perform for us and their country and themselves. I got to know my players' family. It's a business. It's a business. You run a business and your workers are not happy, then your business is going to fall. And it's the same thing. Sport mirrors business. We have to plan for when we are not there. And how do we do that? In this school of life, we educate our players. We educate our players. We educate our administrators. We make them feel welcome and want to be a part of this whole movement, because it's a movement. It's a movement to bring netball to where football is. We may never get there because football is huge and it's big and it's vast, but we can move it far forward, much far forward. It is going to take people. It's going to take a change of mindset. It's not about me. I can't even catch a ball. It is about those 12 players out there who are giving it every day on court, that people like Mrs. Spar, my friend Mrs. Spar, is investing in. She's not investing in Cecilia, but Cecilia must make that product so good and shine and pretty that she's always going to want to find a little extra to give you, because of how you conduct your affairs, because of how the Spar Proteas represent on and off court. And the players who are the beneficiaries of these investments must recognize that when Spar needs them, to promote products, they have to be available, ready and willing and smiling to do it, because SPAR is buying the bread that they eat. So it's a whole orientation of your players, of your administrators, to recognize what makes the wheels of netball South Africa, netball Jamaica, netball Botswana turn. It's not the membership dues, it is the investors. And we have to find out what it is that you want and give it to Mrs. Spar so that the relationship can continue. Or else you're gonna lose sponsors. People don't stay around losers. And losers doesn't only mean losing on court. It is losing in the whole facet of the life of sport and the sport that we manage.
You know, Marva, you have touched on a very important issue, and I see Rieta concurs with you, the issue of image. You know, last year, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to share with you last year what I did. We went to welcome the players that were coming to the Telkom Netball League for the first time. We had a meeting with all the players from all 9 provinces, from all the teams that were participating there. And, you know, I gave them a challenge. I said to them, you know, we women, naturally, we are meant to be beautiful. We meant to be there. And we must be at the space and at the time that we acknowledge who we are. And I said to them, there's a challenge that I'm giving you. Every day when you play on court, put on your lipstick. And you know, they laughed at me. I said, put on your lipstick. I'm not a lipstick person by nature. I am not. But Marva, I can tell you, since I took over as president of Netball South Africa, I'm a tomboy, by the way. Since I took over as the president of Netball South Africa, I understood how important image is. For people to want to listen to you, for people to want to associate with you, it's about the image. Right now, everybody loves the spa portiers. And I'll tell you why, Rieta, they love the spa portiers. We used to wear baggy clothes. We were a joke in most of the things that we do. But right now, I am proud to say we are one of the best teams that is well-dressed in this world. You know, and that also gives the players, you know, what is that? It gives them the oomph
feeling about themselves. They feel good about themselves.
Exactly.
And Cecilia, I have to interrupt you. You, as the president of South Africa, has been in the forefront of a positive image of what this new South Africa looks like. Honestly, and it starts from the top. The people are seeing your president. So you have to step out. Every time you step out of your home, you are representing the Proteas. I'm representing the Sunshine Girls. My husband sent me back inside many times to say, you're the president, change that dress. You can't look like that. No, but it helps because you do not, listen, let me give you a joke. The team was going to England on a tour, and I wanted to go and see them off. And my husband and I were driving past the stadium. I wasn't dressed in a way in which he felt that I could go in there and say goodbye to my girls. I said, no, it's okay. Allow me to go in because we're not stopping. I just want to say bye to them. They're leaving tomorrow. Let me tell you something. I had on one of these nice little muumuu dresses, and I stepped inside the stadium to say bye to my players. Would you believe that a reporter with a camera from a television statement turned up at the stadium? I had to beg the man. I said, please, only show the top of my face in the interview, because I'm never ever going to say no to a reporter. It's free PR. Remember, I need to have netball on TV. So here is the last training session for the girls before, and the president is there in what is like a house dress. And my husband, he has always reminded me, remember that time when I told you not to stop at the stadium? So the image comes from the top. because people are always looking at you, and we women have to try harder and have to work harder. Let's face it. So when we leave home, we are representing ourselves, our brand, our association, and our players. I tell my girls, you know, you're not gonna put me in a corner to sit down and say, over there, sit down over there, Miss B, because I'm representing them. We have people come on board and teach them how to dress, how to speak, what to wear. We had a concert, a fundraiser once, and one of my best friends, who was the image makeover for me, said, no, these girls are not wearing bathing suits this year. Everybody know they have a fabulous figure. I said, but bathing suit is always a part of the concert. She said, no. And she went and got them flowing gowns that year. And not one girl paraded in the concert in anything else but flowing gowns from Jamaica's finest designers. And the whole image of the girls changed. So it's a work in progress, Cecilia. It's work, but guess what? Time flies when you're having fun, and when you can see the smile on their faces, and you know they love their uniforms, and the uniforms are not tight-fitting and horrible, then you know you would have made a difference. MAD.
And you know what's funny in South Africa? Kim, I'll tell you what's funny in South African netball. We've got male netball in South African netball. Our males, they always look like this, look the part. And they challenge us as women in sport. You know, sometimes when I look at some of them, I'm like, will I ever get to that stage? You know, and that's the challenge that we need, you know, and that's the challenge that the girls need for somebody to show them that get out of your comfort zone. I mean, Rieta, was talking to her and she says to me, we have the most beautiful picture of Bongi in our magazine right now. And Cecilia, she was even, you know, bragging and saying to me, you don't even have that photo as Netball South Africa. Look, there it is. There it is. Come on, Rieta, and unmute yourself and talk and say something so as we can all see it.
See, yes, a picture of Bongi in our magazine that we're doing. And she looks absolutely stunning. And you know what? When I saw her being photographed, and we took some phone photos as well, and I just thought, you know what? They should, you know, it was a professional photographer and there was makeup and hair and all that. But I just thought, you know what? We need to see more of those images of our girls. You know, we've got stunning girls, you know, and you know what? Not always necessarily being fashionable, but being true to themselves, first of all, but also highlighting their beauty, because you know what, we've got some amazingly beautiful ladies in our netball team, you know what, and we can showcase them. And I think there is a lot of opportunity that we can use them in South Africa, in advertising, in campaigns and all that. And I think that's something we can really build on as a sponsor. And I know we've spoken about those things before as well. And I mean, we've now started using our netball players in our athletics campaign, because we feel that both sports can contribute building it. And just on the point that we were talking about the image and all of that, and I think, Cecile, yeah, you'll be able to agree with me. And that's why sometimes we as a sponsor gets upset if there's a competitive brand or something like that, because for us it is truly important that our brand is, if it's associated with the sport, that it's really respected. And I think that's one thing that also needs to be educated down, you know, to the girls, you know. And sometimes, and I understand a lot of girls that get the sponsorship don't understand the depth and what the sponsor wants. And I think, you know what, I actually, when I spoke to, I think it was Bruce a while ago, I said to him, you know what, we should actually be invited to some of those camps and showcase what's new at SPA. Show them, listen here, this is what's at SPA, that they also know what's at SPA, that they can promote what our, you know, products is as well, you know. So I think there's a lot of synergy that can still happen with that.
Yeah, that's good. And I hear now, when I'm reading here, I'm reading something interesting for Maite. Maite is one of the women in sport in the province that I'm in my own beautiful province of Limpopo, the province of peace. It says, the next question that I'm going to ask, Kim, how do we take up the space as women in sport? And whilst doing that, we don't step on anybody's toes.
Yeah, I think I touched on it earlier when I said being true and authentic to ourselves. You know, I don't think we need to change. I don't think we must change anything. You know, and I really believe that taking up that space is a support. It is definitely a support system. Because I mean, Cecilia, you do take up a lot of space. As you say, you've worked hard on that image. I mean, I never knew that you were a tomboy. I would have thought you were the flamboyant person who steps out all the time, you know. So I learned something new today, and that's what we're saying. It's a support for that space, because it goes back to that networking, and that's how we're going to have to do it, and just brick by brick. You know, we always tell our athletes, we build the house, you know, for the high performance brick by brick. It's the same as us as administrators and leaders and women in sport. We just have to carry on, and we will take up the space, and it'll be a joint space. You know, I think at the end of the day, in sport, it's always, as we keep saying, it's all about the athlete, and then it doesn't matter. And you say, I've watched some male netball, and it's also fascinating me, and I'm amazed at how many male technical officials you have, you know, as well in the sport. And as you say, they're always beautifully dressed. It's fascinating. And that's it. Let's support, let's build, and that space will. I don't think we'll take it up. I think the space will shrink, because it will just be a win-win, you know, for everyone. Fascinating times ahead, in my opinion.
Oh, by the way, Kim, for your information, I am a tomboy. I am. I learned
something new today. Fantastic.
I'm just trying to keep up with the pace.
Who doesn't need Bruce? If it does, the media is doing a wonderful job. Images, everything. We don't forget that.
Marva, how do we take up the space? We want to turn netball to be an Olympic sport. We are not an Olympic sport. We want to be an Olympic sport, but we have to take up the space. How do you think we go about doing that, Marva?
Okay, I'm not focusing yet, Cecilia, on us being an Olympic sport. I would like to focus on us getting our roots in many more countries. The next thing would be the Olympic sport. I think we take up space, but we don't take up space and do nothing. Too many of our leaders take positions because it looks good on their resume, and not knowing it is a lot of work. And if you have a 9-to-5 job and you commit to taking a leadership role in sport, you have to know how you're going to do it, because it is not about you. And when we lose sight of that fact, that it is not about us, it is about getting those players to a point where they can compete with teams who are in the top 5. Let us say the top 5 for now, right? You should want to be there, because when you get to that level, people are going to invite you to come to their parties, right? They're not going to invite you if you're down the bottom of the pool. So what you have to realize is that you're going to take up space, but while you're occupying that space, you're working to make the reason why you're in that space be a success. So if you come into the space and your country is number 10, you would want to do whatever it is to move the country to number 8. And what do you have to do to move the country to number 8? A lot of people like to use the word strategic plan, and if you don't have a strategic plan, you're not doing something right, and all of these highfalutin terms that I use. You know what I did? At the beginning of every year, we sat down with the team and said, what do we want to do this year? And you need to realize that you do not have all the answers. So while you're taking up space, you're educating yourself on the business of netball. So I have really great friends in New Zealand. I have really great friends in Australia. And I see how they market the Silver Ferns. Oh my God, I read everything to do with the Silver Ferns. Next to the Sunshine Girls, they are my team. But while I'm reading about the silver ferns, I'm learning how Kerry Manders, who I met in 1998 or 7, how she has stayed with Netball New Zealand and all that she has done to make the silver fern a household name. So I'm always looking at what they do because I'm in school. So once you become the leader of the pack, you are not at the position where you can sit back and fold your hands. Your business is to learn and to learn about the business of the business that you're in. Once we have a more competitive top 10 or top 16, then we are on our way. But as of now, there's up here and there's down here. And look, our athletes have the talent. It is we who are the leaders who are to put the people around them. Norma drove a dagger in my heart in Liverpool because you went and got Norma Plummer to get into the heads of your players so that, I mean, you could, the whole of South Africa. I have my friends in South Africa messaging me, feeling good, because you looked at your team and decided you needed this. Good? So what I'm saying to all the other countries, do not just occupy the space for the time that you are the president. It is not ever about you. It is about what you can do to make a difference. And what is your contribution while you're occupying the space will be your legacy. I never thought about legacy. I just thought about making the Sunshine Girls be the household name. So every day I got up, I looked at, and I read my newspaper from the back to the front, because on the back page is the biggest sport. So if I saw netball there, I said, wow, I got the back page of the Observer. It is you as the leader, ladies, that is sitting down in that chair and saying, what am I going to do today to move my organization closer to being in the World Cup, or to topple Australia, New Zealand, England, and South Africa. It is work.
I can't hear you, Marva.
Have I muted?
Can't hear you.
You're hearing me now? Is it better?
Yes.
It is work, it is voluntary work, but it is a labor of love that when you see the products out there on the court, you can sit back and say, it was a job well done. It's gonna be hard. I learned that strong women cry, because I cry a lot. I cry almost a week don't pass that I cry. I said, God, what is this now? But you dry your tears and you get back in that ring, because there are people out there. Your coaches are depending on you. Your players are depending on you. So you can't just cry and go under a bed and never come back out. But you have to believe in what you're doing. Olympic sport will come. For now, it may not come in my lifetime, but all I want to see is that we have a more competitive top 16, and all our athletes are talented. It is just that the teaching that they're getting is not bringing out the talent enough. And we need to go and find the teachers who can bring out the talent, because the teachers are there. Teachers are there. I'm getting Jamaica, the Americas region is getting help from Netball Europe now. Not because we don't have it, and maybe they don't have any team in Europe which is better than Jamaica, but they have processes that we want to put in place so that our athletes can benefit and our administrators can benefit. So it's a voluntary work, but if you continue to chip away at it, forget about the men, use them, and I don't mean use them. Utilize their skills. How does that sound? Does that sound better? Yeah. Utilize the skills that they bring to the table. My good friend, Colonel, raised enough money for me to not lose my hair, simply by just wanting to be a part of our movement, and we should embrace them. We should embrace them because they bring things and links and networking that we don't have. I'm not into the Olympics right now. I'm into making Jamaica beat New Zealand.
Marva, Rita, how do we take
no,
out
hold on,
space?
Cecilia, before I get in trouble. I am in for more countries in the Americas region to be in the top 16 or the top 10 playing in a World Cup.
No, Marva. We are here. Africa is here. That will be a dream to you. Africa is here, and we're coming strong and big. So it's a healthy competition between me and you. Don't worry. It's a very healthy competition. So I'm not worried when I'm competing against you because it's a healthy competition. We are here. Uganda is here. I see Zimbabwe is here. Malawi is here. Botswana is here. You know, everybody, Namibia is here. So please, we want to come there, and as the biggest continent in the world, we cannot let you be in the top 16 when we are not. We have to get more countries from Africa. We cannot let you. Let me put that straight to you. You know, Kim, that's between me and Marva. That we have to do that. We need to argue about it. And I know, Kim, you're on my side. You're protecting our side.
There you go, Africa. That's why we're here. Yeah.
Later, how do we take up the space? You know, in the sponsorship area, what advice would you give us? There are a lot of people who are in this webinar. I know they want to know how they can go out there and go and get sponsors. I know they're interested in that. Whether in their countries, in their provinces, in their districts, what do you advise? How do they take up their space?
Okay, there I have to say what Marva said is quite important. You have to have something to offer. So, you know what we normally, when I speak to anyone that asks me about sponsorships, what I say is, first of all, you must look at your offering. So if your offer is a school, for instance, don't try and go to a SPA head office or to the big guns, because you know what, that's not where they will be, their interest lies. So for me, I would say look at your offering. If it's a small offering, go to your local branch of SPA or go to your local field of interest, companies that would be interested. Give them your offering. So tell them where they can benefit, where their logo can be, how good the team is, because that's important. And then where Marva said image is everything, because if that team already has an image, it's so much easier to sponsor. Then obviously as the team gets better, bigger, then you climb up the ladder with sponsorships as well. But first of all, what I always say is, you know, we sponsor so many things, and the saddest thing for me as a sponsor is we don't get feedback. You know, I would sponsor a team, they will ask me, oh, I want netball gear and I want this and that, and we look at it, we give it to them, but we never get feedback. So I don't get photos saying, oh, thank you very much for the sponsorship, this is what we look like, this is our bags, this is how we perform. So first of all, if the people applying for sponsorship can give feedback to the sponsors, even if it's a simple note, and they don't have to make big things like certificates or a frame photo, nothing like that. A simple email where they say how they've performed, what they've done, what's happening. That's what we want to know. So give feedback, communicate to your sponsor. Give them the small victories, because you know what? We're also interested in the small victories. We're not only looking for wins. I mean, if we know one of the girls in a team was blessed and she got a pair of shoes and it helped her, and now she's doing so well, that's good enough for us, you know. But so many times we don't know about it. So I think small victories is just as important as big victories, you know. And then I think the second thing I would be is to be respectful to your sponsor, because sometimes I think, you know what, I've been to schools that we sponsored, and then you arrive there and they almost make you feel that you're not part of it. Our sponsors want to be part of what's happening. You know, we don't mind. I mean, if we didn't want to do it, we wouldn't get on board. So for us, it's nice to be part. We can't always attend all the functions we're sponsoring, but when we do, it's nice to feel part of the function, to feel part of what's happening, and to get all those stories from the players and all of that. You know, so I think for me. And then also, you know what, communicate needs, because sometimes it's easy to communicate the big needs, like the big monies. But you know what, small monies for us is sometimes also easier because we've got a lot of stores. So sometimes for us, a small need is just as important. So when they come to a sponsor and they say, well, you know what, here's a big sponsorship if you've got that kind of money, here's a middle one if you don't have, and here's our essentials. So if you only have this kind of money, this is what we can do. So give your sponsor an option of what they can afford. Don't always ask for the biggest money, but also don't come in there cheap. So give them at least 3 options of what they could need, and then it's easier for us to respond and say, well, I don't have 10,000 this time, but maybe I can give you 1,000. If it's going well, we'll give you another 1,000, and then you build it up. So I think that will also help them to approach sponsor and give them a little bit of a ratio as to what they can ask for and what they can expect from a sponsor.
You know, you're correct, Rieta. And when you're looking at Krista Mansu, is a sister of mine in one of the rural areas here around Limpopo. She's right. What is your role in rural sports development as women in rural areas are eager to participate in sport, but without resources? What do you do, Kim? I mean, in KwaZulu-Natal, that's where you are, Kim. I know where you are because I have to know about my members in Saskok, where they are. So I know where you are. So what is your role in rural development as women in rural areas and eager to participate?
Well, as you say, I'm based in KZN, and what I've done is I've actually formed a very close partnership and network with KZN Department of Sport and Recreation, focusing specifically on women. And my goal is more women, and as well as people of disability. That's my 2 key goals. So it is tough, but there is money there. There is money for the rural, but I'm going to go, and I can talk for my sport, but for all sporting codes, you've got to go through your provincial federations. You've got to go to where you can get help, and there is help. We've got some phenomenal administrators assisting us with putting in. I know facilities are a problem, but we've always said that's a mental block. We've got to get beyond that. You know, if we don't have water, we get a machine, and we sit on the with no water, and because don't forget, we got to teach people how to swim first before we can get them, you know, practicing our sport. So you have to work and make those phone calls. And if the person doesn't answer your call or your email or your text message or your WhatsApp, keep at it, keep going and say, you're not answering my calls. Make it their problem to help you. You can't give up, and you will get that support. It is there, and it is a priority with our National Department of Sports and Recreation. It is a priority, but just keep at it. Go, I'm going to say bug your leaders who have the access to those funds and demand it and ask for it and ask for the help.
That's a very good contribution you've made there, and you know, a very good advice to, I think Krista, my sister, she's listening to that, and she'll go that, you know, I always say to people, I'll bug you until I get what I want. I'll be on your neck until I get what I want. You ask Rieta, we cannot even talk about it here, but she knows when I want something. I'll bug her until I get it. Even Marva knows. I'll say, Marva, send those things. I want them now. So it's a question of how badly you want it and how badly you want it to happen, at what time you want it to happen. That will help you get whatever you want to get. I know we're talking like this, and we've got countries right now that are locked in, and I know countries like Malawi struggling, countries like Zimbabwe struggling, countries like Uganda struggling. But how is that? What is that we do? As the Hollywood of Africa, I call us the Hollywood of Africa. What is that we do? That we help our sister countries in making sure that whatever we want to reach and however we want to make them reach things to be possible, what will be your final advice to them, Kim, and on what to do? Because we've got a lot of African countries that are sitting here and listening, and they want to associate with us, with them, because to them, they think it's easy for us. By the way, Kim, they think it's easy, and you will know that it's not. Yeah, they think it's easy. But what is that you can give them advice on where to to go on and how to do things?
You know, it's this sort of platform. And I think, you know, one thing, let's take some positives out of COVID. Zoom, Microsoft Teams, this sort of platform, Wi-Fi, data is available everywhere. Let's work. And what I've done with in our sport with the whole of the African countries, because it's exactly the same, is I've invited them. I said, we will also help you get here. And if we've got a national camp or something, come and join us. And let's share that sort of thing. Our problem with equipment is probably easier to ship netballs and that to someone, but our boats being 5.2 meters, that can't happen. But we can also link them where we've gone and made overseas networks, you know, out of Africa, share those networks. Because often for North Africa, it's actually easier for them to go to Europe than come down to us, flight logistics, you know, all that sort of thing. So it's the same thing, bug each other. You know, I'm going to use that and work together. You know, your African Confederation, I mean, you're the head of it. That is absolutely key. And your coaching resources have to be shared. We talk about the sharing the knowledge. It's got to be shared. Your technical directors, it must be shared. And support those athletes as well. Make those other athletes also household. So, you know, if you've got a bongi and someone else, they can do a shared thing. These days with shared Zoom, you can do the interviews like we're doing. And we can raise Africa. Sorry, sitting over there in Jamaica as well. We're going to be African, you know. We can share Africa because it is the most phenomenal talent and sport in the world. It is just, it's coming. And when it comes, it's going to come big. And that's it, just support one another and ask. Don't be afraid. I've learned that. Don't ever be afraid to ask. Be brave, take the deep breath and ask.
Yes, I agree with you. On that one, me and you agree. Don't be afraid to ask. Knock on those doors. They say knock until they open. I'll knock until my fingers can't take it anymore. But as long as at the end of the day I get what I want, I'll do that. Retha, we've got our African counterparts here. We've got spas all over Africa in most of the countries that netball is playing. What is your advice to them?
You know what? I think Marva mentioned in the start of her thing is to have good financial, audible, you know, books that they can show sponsor. Because working with African countries, it's very important that their books are online. So first of all, I would say they must have their books must be good, that they can show their sponsor, that they have good management, good administration. Then secondly is to give a product that's worthwhile for the sponsor to invest in. And you know what? The big thing is a lot of we are in a lot of our African countries as well. And you know what? We manage those countries from South Africa as well. So I don't know all the people in Malawi, Zimbabwe, Botswana. I got to know a lot more now. So it's important to get into contact with the person that's actually managing the sponsorships for those countries, you know, so that they talk to the right person. So try, like you say, knock on every door until you find the door that opens to the right person. Then give them a proposal that is easy enough to get into netball without being, or into whatever sport, that's not overwhelming. You know, so start small, and then as the relationship grow, the investment will grow as well. And then where Marva touched on was as well, keep on giving them the kind of product that they will keep on investing. So I think that goes hand in hand. So for me, the first step will definitely be knock on every door until they find the right door that leads to the sponsorship person that's responsible for that area, for that country, and talk to them and start at a place where it's manageable, grow the investment until it's much more favorable for them.
Marva, I'm looking at my time now, and at 5 o'clock we must be done. I'm not going to thank you. You know, it's nice to be, Marva, it's nice to be a president. You know, I've got my vice president here. So she'll do the thank you and everything, because it's nice to be me at sometimes. I've got two of my vice presidents, the one from Africa and the one from Netball South Africa. So where I'm sitting, I'm so relaxed, so relaxed. So Marva, your last words to the women who are in this webinar, who are listening to you. what would you say to them? Some of them are at the brink of giving up, and some of them are saying, I'm trying everything in my power and with my strength and everything, and it's not happening. What can you tell these women? And the men that are in here, what can you tell them? Because definitely we need these men and we need them to be with us. What can you tell?
First thing I have to tell them is not to give up. You cannot give up. And I'm saying this as somebody, even today, who will wake up tomorrow when the challenges face me and want to give up. But we cannot quit. A lot of information is out there, and it's not only in books, it's from experiences. I've been listening to Kim and to Mrs. Mrs. Spar, right? Cecilia has to give me the name right. And what is all of your experiences has been mine in doing Netball Jamaica, because that's all I know. I have 1,500 numbers in my phone book because I keep every sponsor's number. The sponsor knows what they want. We can't give up. What we have to do is to find out. Some sponsors may not want the Spar Proteas. They may want the baby Proteas. They may want community work. What we have to do is to sit down and find out what it is that the partner, because if you think sponsor, you think of money for nothing. Offer your players, your products to do work and public relations work for your sponsors, so it saves them having to go and buy talent, because it's a talent fee. You have to see your sponsor as a partner, as your family. And everything that you do, it is to include the family. We had a sponsor appreciation function in Netball Jamaica. We had a media appreciation function, and we got the media to put it into the newspapers and to put it on TV. So we became known as a caring, sponsor, media friendly organization, because without them, you don't have PR. It's like I say, winking at a girl in the dark. It's like looking at some of these screens and not seeing the people. People who are investing in products, and your players are your products, want to see them on TV and in the media, and they want the brand recognition. And whilst I'm saying this, let me put a plug in for the INF. Helen and I think Maliba, are now reading a document that will help the smallest nation to the largest nation to be able to get better at raising sponsorship, raising the profile of your brand. It's a huge document, but we're going to see how we can break it up. But it will be like your Bible. It is that good. It's just that it's big, and we have to find a way to make it smaller pieces for us to use. And I'm really happy that you asked me to do this today. I learned that my experiences are the same as Kim's, and what we learned from sponsorship and did right was exactly what my friend from Spar wants. And I'm continuing to learn, because you never stop learning in this position that you hold. I see Helen here with a lot of experience in brand marketing and in raising sponsorship. She knows the market. We need to draw on our colleagues, their experience. I'm not ashamed to tell people to talk to me like an 8-year-old so that I can understand, because I have a pen and I have a book and I write it down and I go back and refer to it. So it's all about learning and coming out of your comfort zone and growing.
Thank you so much, Marva. I'm not going to thank you yet. I said I've got the Vice President, Miss Christine Dupree, to do the job for me. Retha, from your side, Spar, it's good for netball. You know that. We don't say Spar is good for you, it's good for netball. Your last words to the ladies.
I think what was nice for me to hear is that I think there's a lot of ladies that's willing to give advice, to give their experience, to help other ladies. I think there must be some kind of willingness from both sides from us to share our experience, but also from ladies that want to learn to stand up and say, but I want to learn something. I want to be able to learn some of that knowledge that you've got. And then also not to be afraid to knock at those doors until the right doors open for you. Then also that as your knowledge increase, you will be able to stand up more and to make a difference in the sport where you are. And then I think what's very important for me is I think the teams and the players must be the winners with the sport, and that we can do as sponsors like ourselves a lot more to promote our faces of our players, of those that's making the sport great. Let's make those players also great.
Thank you, Rita. I'm not the one to thank you. As I said, the Vice President is for me as the Netball South Africa webinar. We share roles and she has to do it for me. Kim, your last words, and I'm happy that, you know, we talked of a different sporting code that people don't even know that much about canoeing. And I'm going to say this, I will come to KZN and you must teach me canoeing.
with absolute pleasure, absolute pleasure. And I just, you know, before I just finish off, I've only got like 2 words to finish off, but just to thank for being part of the netball family. I love learning about other sports. You know, I do run some netball clinics and tournaments at school level. So, and it's working closely with SPA as well. And just thank you. And I mean, Marva, wisdom, thank you. It's absolutely unbelievable that the women leaders out there in sport worldwide. So, you know, from my perspective, learning from you, I've also soaked in what you're saying. But to everyone else, mine is very, very simple, because I think Rita and Marva summed it up as be brave and believe in yourself. That's be brave and just believe in yourself. And you will lead wherever you are, at whatever level, and you'll be fine. You'll actually be great at it.
Thank you so much. To everybody that have logged in, thank you so much. And I see that Masha is challenging us now to say it must be an ongoing thing, not only for Women's Month. You know, she's challenging us on that one. And, you know, she doesn't know how I had to beg Marva to wake up in the morning, because I know our time zones are so different. And I had to change dates with Kim, and Ria is busy phoning me here, because where she is, it's a nightmare. I know where she is in Limpopo, where she is, the network is bad. And she says, let me say, pass her words of wisdom to her, to say, as women, we can do better, do much better when we support each other. We are not against each other, we are for each other. She wanted to say that. And my last words will be, before I even give Christine Dupree the opportunity to thank everybody, it will be, women, let's stop competing with each other. Let's complement each other, because we can make this world a better place. Madam VP, it's your opportunity now.
Thank you, Cecilia. It's quite comical. You've done quite a lot of the thanking yourself, but I will, on behalf of Netball South Africa, thank everybody for giving us your time. I think we've learned invaluable lessons from each other. Marva, thank you very much from all the way from Jamaica. It's always lovely hearing from you, and you shared many wise words with us today. Kim, lovely meeting you. Thank you for all your input in that. And Mrs. Spa, Rita, thank you for all your for your input. I think we've also learned a lot of valuable lessons from you, and how we can get even more involved with Spa and give back a lot more to Spa than what Spa has always been good to us and has always given us a lot. But I think it's time we bring our part to the party as well. Thank you very much. And I've left the best for last. And thank you for Cecilia, our president, for actually hosting this this presentation for us, this webinar. Thank you for all your stuff and for putting this all together for us. Thank you.
I can't do it without all of you guys. And it's a team effort. I might have initiated it, but it's a team effort. It's Netball South Africa effort. It's all our effort who are here. And to all the ladies and everybody else and the gentlemen that joined us, thank you so much. Stay blessed, stay warm. Coronavirus doesn't move, people move. Let's all adhere to the rules and regulations. Thank you so much.